I'm on a roll this morning. I just figured out how it is that all of the cosmos, the celestial objects, all of them are hollow, unless they're a piece of dirt, like the comet belt between Mars and Jupiter. Eventually, it won't stay there. It'll probably fall into orbit around some planet or the sun, and eventually fall into either one. But in the meantime, it's still a comet belt. You know, it takes a long time for these things to change. All planets and all stars and all hubs of galaxies are hollow, and this is how it works. I've always felt that the hollowness of the Earth was a buoyancy effect, in which if the force was altered in any way, then the shell of the Earth would be further away from its center of so-called mass or closer to it. But now it's really anti-gravity is what it amounts to. At the center of and since I saw the movie Tornado with Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, I believe, and Carrie Hughes, when they did the CGI of a tornado, it showed that there was a little wisp of a tornado in the center, kind of like a double-armed galaxy, you know, like our Milky Way, spinning in the center of this humongous cylindrical, tornado, which they were at the center of. Those, Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, they're at the center at the base, holding on to these. They were strapped themselves into these pipes, water pump pipes that went down deep into the earth, and with leather straps to prevent themselves from being sucked up into this thing, because the thing hovered over them, and what are they going to do to prevent that from happening? Carrie Hughes wasn't so lucky in the movie, his character. Now, this is all CGI, right? But it doesn't matter. They must have gotten the information from studying tornadoes, because that's what the movie was about, right? Dramatization of what scientists in the field go through. Some of them who are obsessive enough. Nobody I know. Okay, enough of that. Let's see. So, there's an aluminum sphere, probably solid, maybe it's not, at the center of the Earth, at the center of the sun, all the planets, and it spins. It has a spin, but it's aluminum. It's pure aluminum. Somebody put it there. And not aliens. How about the creators, what do they call it, vice regent in charge of this solar system, who created all the souls, blah, blah, blah. There are different ways of, spinning creation story, if you like. Archangel Michael, there we go, who lives in the sun and creates and came as Christ several times to this planet. I think 5 times, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so it's spinning at the center. Now, we take a look at an electromechanical watt-hour meter from a century ago, or, before we went digital about a little over a decade ago. And what we have is a free-spinning aluminum disc with perforations to help grab hold, have a surface, to have the edges of those perforations for the magnetic field of the armature of the electromechanical watt-hour meter to grab onto to get it to spin. But, according to the Meterman's Handbook from 1912, and the model I'm thinking of is the I-10 from 1910, both artifacts, the book, the manual, and the meter I got off of eBay about a little over 10 years ago, because I was studying. I needed to study something. So I took it apart, I looked it all over, and then when I read the Meterman's Handbook, it said that the braking magnet, it's a C magnet. It's basically a toroidal shape with a little piece cut out, and then the two ends of that C, letter C shape, are directly above and below the aluminum disc, the outer perimeter. They face it. So what it does is it sets up eddy currents in the permanent magnet sets up eddy currents in the disc to prevent it from spinning to infinite oblivion, because that's what the Meterman's Handbook from 1912 says will happen. Without that braking magnet, that aluminum disk will want to keep spinning faster and faster. So apparently electrical engineers have known about this phenomenon of spinning aluminum disks dating back God knows how far. Now, I just did an episode prior to this one on the flying disk of John Searle, according to Joseph H. Cater. And so we know now that aluminum disks, their inherent nature is to want to self-accelerate. If you get them to spin at all, they will want, and to a certain minimum RPM, okay? Right, I'm guessing, maybe not. Maybe it'll just take thousands of years if you don't get it up to that minimum RPM where you don't have to wait so long. But it may be a property of them if there's no friction. If you've got a frictionless bearing drive or holder to hold this thing, and of course the disk is horizontal, parallel to the horizon of the Earth, so it's flat, and the spin axis is perpendicular to the surface of the Earth. In other words, it's straight up and down. And so if you have it in a bearing in a fixture of some kind that is frictionless, friction-free, in the electromechanical water meter from 1910, it's jewel bearings. We have ball bearings, but I'm sure Nikola Tesla in his proof of concept used magnetic, and I already explained that, so I don't have to go over that again in the prior episode of these podcasts on my channel, Magical Me channel on Podbean. So now we take that and we transfer it over to why or how is it that planets and the sun are hollow? Because the sun is a planet. In fact, there's a website devoted, what's it called? The surfaceofthesun.com. It's devoted to the solidity of the planet. It doesn't say it's hollow. But I know it's hollow because it has to be. All celestial objects, if they are ellipsoidal or spheroidal in any way, shape, or form, they are going to be hollow, because I learned that a long time ago in 1991. I was inspired. It was an inspiration, an epiphany, because my parents had mint growing wild in the backyard, and when I would break open the stem and see how hollow it was on the inside, I thought, you know what? Buckminster Fuller is right. The arc, the sphere shape is the easiest way, the most economical way for Mother Nature to support anything of weight or mass, is that arcing shape, that curvature shape. Why not apply it to the planets and save herself, Mother Nature, a lot of energy to get a planet to spin? Well, I proposed that to my astrophysics teacher at CSUN, Cal State Northridge, back in 90-something, 95, 4, I think it was 4. It was a senior level class. I had very good standing when I matriculated from Santa Monica College over to CSUN. Didn't last long. I flunked out of all those courses. Well, not that one. He got me to pass with a C. Yeah, I said, Teach, you got to help me. This is way over my head. Don't worry, I'll take you under my wing. I'll help you. So we had a little argument one day. Well, a little discussion. And and it was about this comet belt. What if that comet belt had prior been a planet? Because you said in the lecture today that it's very close to the planet Jupiter, and what if there was an alignment and the forces of Jupiter and Mars pulled it apart, and now we got the comet belt? Well, what if... No, actually, no, that wasn't the lecture. No, I think he was saying that, because it would discredit the argument that I'm coming up to. No, he probably said the debris came off the planets when they were in the early days of formation, and it was leftover material in between those two planets, Jupiter and Mars. But I said, well, what if it was a planet that just broke apart? And he said, no, that can't be. There's not enough mass there to make a solid planet. Well, what if the planets are not solid? Oh, no, it defies physics. No, it defies your ignorance, is what it does. So here it is, Teach. I can't remember your name, so I can't email this to you if you're still alive. So we've got an aluminum ball or sphere. Could be hollow, could be solid. At the center of all these hollow celestial objects that are either ellipsoidal or spheroidal, because there is one moon of Jupiter that is not. It literally looks like a rock. It's in the shape of a rock, and I bet you it's a solid rock. But all the other moons of Jupiter, as far as I can recall, are spheroidal or spherical or ellipsoidal. I think spherical. And so they're hollow. What happens is the creator, or the son of the creator, according to Christian theology, it would be the son of the creator, Archangel Michael, but only one. There are a lot of different angels, and they're all sons of the Creator. What if Archangel Michael, when he was forming our solar system, all he had to do was materialize an aluminum sphere, and it's probably hollow, because it doesn't have to be solid. And all you have to do is get it to spin fast enough. Now, it's a sphere, it's not a disk, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. So there's nothing for it to repel. There's nothing for it to... Well, no, actually, yes. It will find its position in space in a balanced point between whatever nearby celestial objects there are that are of any consequence, stars, So our solar system got to be positioned within a position in space in which it's equidistant in terms of masses, not in terms of distance, but in terms of proportionality of masses that surrounds it and the kind of gravitational forces they emit. It's equidistant in that sense, proportionally equidistant. It found its position, and lo and behold, not only does it start to attract any free cosmic debris that's out there, but when the cosmic debris comes to it, it goes into orbit. It doesn't fall into the sphere. It cannot, because the aluminum is repelling it. Okay? So the Earth will never fall into the orbit of the Sun. Debris, satellites, will fall into the Earth because they're at the wrong altitude. They're not at ground level, or at ocean level, let's say. But the Earth itself, the crust, the shell of the Earth, is not going to fall into the center. It can't, unless that aluminum sphere at the center of the Earth stops spinning for some reason. Now, it has been postulated that the reason why the dinosaurs got to be so big was because gravity was less. Because the Earth was smaller, the mass was less, and the electrostatic field of the Earth was greater, because it made everything grow faster and bigger. And this comes from a lot of different sources. I'm not going to elaborate. You just deal with it. It's not my theory, but it sounds good. Now, and that's also the reason why Pangaea broke up. Not only the extinction of the dinosaurs, but the enlargement of the diameter of the Earth. It pulled Pangaea apart, the empty spaces got filled in with water, and we've got a water-based planet for the most part. This was all before the Earth was transported and removed from the Pleiades and put into our galaxy, or our solar system, shortly after Maldek was broken apart and turned into a comet belt. So, between Mars and Jupiter. And when the Earth was transported, it brought with it everybody on board. The cetaceans, whales, dolphins, and any primates that were on land at the time, who were native to the Earth. All right? Let's see. Where was I? So we have two groups of humans, the primates and the dolphins. Anyway. I don't want to get into Maldek and blah, blah, blah. That's a whole other story, because that's... Okay, whatever. We just want to focus on the aluminum. Okay. So this aluminum disk is spinning, and it prevents the debris that has formed the shell of the Earth from going any closer due to its spin rate. But it also can't go any further away because probably the charge, there's probably an electrostatic charge on this sphere, and it's attracting all that debris. It's a very weak charge in terms of how quickly it attracts debris from the cosmos, but for the most part, we've cleaned out our section of the cosmos of debris, and so we don't get that much debris falling into the Earth anymore. I saw two comets a few days ago, one morning after another, 2 mornings in a row, and the first one was more brilliant. but it was a shorter streak, and I saw a piece break off, and then it quickly disappeared, the main piece as well as the piece that broke off. And then the next morning, it was a very tinier streak, and it had a longer streak across the sky before it went out. And I thought that was pretty cool, you know? 2 very nice good luck omens, 2 mornings in a row, several days ago, about a week ago, less than a week. Anyway, so that's how the Earth is able to maintain its hollowness, because it can't fall into the center any further because of the spin rate of this sphere. But because the sphere is charged, is the reason why the debris here is forming the shell of the Earth in the first place. It came here attracted by that electrostatic charge in the first place. So the Earth does function, the gravitational force does function on the basis of an electrostatic charge, but not the gravitational force, the anti-gravitational force, the levitational force. And that's the reason why the Searle disk moves away from the so-called center of mass of the Earth when it spins fast enough, because it's the spin rate that does it. Now, because it's gyroscopic, it doesn't flip over and do the reversal and crash into the Earth once they get it to spin at all and create these very strong forces. You know, it would have to be an electrostatic charge is the reason why, because that's the only thing that matters. And wait, let me think. Yeah, that's it. When a UFO craft it is running around, it creates this bubble of inertial neutrality around itself. So any debris, cosmic debris, cannot, it just gets skirted off to one side and probably ends up behind the craft if the craft is moving through space, where picking up where it left off in its trajectory. So it does this little wee-woo, this little spin, half spherical arc spin to get out of the way of the UFO, basically. But maybe it's thrown off course. That's right. It's kind of like the way when we send satellites around the sun to give them a boost so that they can leave our solar system with an extra boost to use the gravitational force of the sun. Yeah, that's probably... when we sent lunar missions to the moon, we did the same thing. We had them orbit around. We shot them around not exactly. No, it's around the sun. Yeah, Voyager 10 or whatever it was, 8, 9, I don't know. Voyager 6 or 7, sending it out of our solar system. The slingshot approach, whatever it's called. So we can't fall in any closer and we can't leave. We have to stay at this position because the surface of the Earth is getting in our way, or else we'd fall, closer to the Earth, to the so-called center of mass of the Earth. But if there was a hole, deep enough, we'd go to a point and then we'd go too far, right? And then momentum, we'd keep going, we'd slow down, and then we'd turn around and come back, and eventually we'd settle. After slingshotting up and down like a pendulum, up and down, up and down, up and down, we'd finally settle at a point that's the center of the crust of the Earth. And that's where we would be, if we could be there. There's probably a lot of magma there, but be that as it may, a lot of radioactivity from uranium causing that magma to appear. But be that as it may, we won't be at the center, the so-called center of mass. We'll be at the center of buoyancy. Is where we will be at. Because we can't go any closer because of the electrostatic charge of the Earth will repel us, and we can't go any further away because the electrostatic charge of that sphere at the so-called center of mass of the Earth will attract us. So either way, we have to find that center area, and that's where we will be, and that's where the shell of the Earth is hovering above and below, and compressing itself in the course of doing so, creating pressure and heat in the interior of the shell. So you don't have to have uranium deposits to create magma flow. You can just have the center of the shell do it, I suppose, if it's enough pressure. Maybe not. Now, I've heard theories that it's uranium deposits that create the magma flow. It's probably the only thing that comes out of, useful to us anyway, that comes out of the center of the shell of the Earth that's of any use due to its pressure and temperature are the oil fields. Because with enough sufficient temperature and pressure and length of duration, limestone, iron oxide, water, and pressure and heat over enough time will create petroleum, crude oil, and it creates this vacuole. It fills it up under pressure, and then it seeps its way to another globular cave above it, and then it seeps up through a crack to more caves above that. And finally, the last cave is the one we send our well down to, our pump, and we pump it out, and we empty it, we cap the pump, wait 20 years, and it refills from the well, from the cavern below it. Because the Earth creates petroleum. It has nothing to... We call it fossil fuels, right? Nobody has the nerve to change the name, right, who has any social standing, but any authority in our society. But it's not fossil fuels. It has nothing to do with the dinosaurs. The Earth is making petroleum all the time. We're never going to run out, so long as we don't spend more than what's being produced per unit of time. That's a different story. We'd probably have to fill the skies with smoke so thick we wouldn't be able to see the sun to be able to deplete the amount of oil that's in the Earth that fast. But I'm guessing. What do I know? I'm just wildly off the top of my head. Don't worry about it. In other words, we'll always have petroleum, and the petroleum companies will make every excuse under the book, and one of them is, we're running low, peak oil. Yeah, when we reach that point where they said, well, our estimates were wrong, we're going to have to push it back into the future a little 50 more years, blah, blah, blah. Bunch of bullshit. Anyway, it's not good to depend on them. Pollutes the atmosphere, and it's going to get more and more polluted. Anyway. So that's how the Earth uses this gravitational and levitational property of spinning aluminum discs, spheres, whatever you want to shape it as. And that's all the Creator has to do to form these planets, and they just wait, let the rest take care of itself. Hell, I mean, you're dealing with the son of the Creator, an archangel whose lifespan is God knows how long. He can afford to wait, It's no big deal for him. And maybe he changes time locally. I don't know, speed things up a bit. How should I know? Maybe if you spin the disc, the sphere, the aluminum sphere fast enough, it really attracts matter from the cosmos really quickly. And then you slow it down, and... No, it's actually speeding up, though. That's why the Earth has gotten bigger. It's accelerating. See that? So the iron in the crust of the Earth is not enough to form a braking magnet effect, similar to an electromechanical water emitter, to slow down the Earth. So the Earth is actually speeding up its spin rate. You know why I know that? Because The Secret Life of Plants by Christopher Bird and Peter Tompkins, published back in the 70s, it states, one of their stories, is that there's some other kind of sun that has that we spin around, that's a 25-hour cycle. They know this because they've put sunflower plants deep in underground mines, deep underground, and they sprout them. And the name for sunflower in Spanish is girasol. It literally means in English to turn to face the sun. Gira, to turn, sol, to face the sun. Well, the leaves of wheatgrass plants do that too. So a lot of plants do that. That's probably how you get the twirl in pineapple or all the other grass plants, monocot plants, the date palm and whatnot, because they're turning as they grow to face the sun. Well, sunflower doesn't, and it's not a monocot, it's a dicot, so that's pretty awesome. Anyway, well, they germinated these sunflower seeds in deep wells or mines, and they still turned, but they turned on a different cycle. A normal sunflower will finish turning at the end of the day and then turn back to face the sun in the morning when the sun rises. The rays of the sun, the rising sun, will influence to turn itself. A little sprout. We're talking about a little sprout here, not a big fully grown plant. When the little sprout is very easily influenced by something like the solar influence. Well, the cycle time for the new day, when they put these sunflower sprouts deep underground, is 25 hours, not 24. So we may have a binary star system and we don't even know it, that we're spinning around in a 25-hour cycle, while on the other hand we're spinning around our visible sun on a 24-hour cycle. How do you like that one, and wrap your head around that one? So why did I bring that up? I'm not sure. Oh, I see. Or the other theory, hypothesis, is that the sunflower no, that is a good question. Well, the sunflower remembers the way it was when the sunflower first came into being, and so deep in its DNA, it defaults to 25 hours unless influences should prove otherwise, current influences. So the DNA for sunflower is geared to a 25-hour cycle, but only because the sun has a 24-hour cycle in terms of, the Earth has a 24-hour cycle. So the Earth is spinning faster. Let's put it that way. The Earth has sped up its spin rate to shorten its duration of spin cycle, but the sunflower hasn't caught up yet. The gene still remembers 25 hours, while the sun has already shifted to 24. So that means the Earth would expand in size and gain so-called mass, and so the dinosaurs wouldn't be able to grow so big anymore. They'd become extinct, especially if the Earth increased its spin suddenly. So the flowering plants started to come into being, right? Remember? And then all of a sudden the dinosaurs became extinct. There were some mammals, tiny rodents, and flowering plants starting to come into being. And then all of a sudden, overnight practically, the dinosaurs became extinct. So something happened very suddenly to change the diameter of this planet to make it suddenly enlarged. And that would cause it to actually slow down, or the other way around. The spin rate slowed down suddenly, and it increased suddenly, and automatically it enlarged very suddenly. Spin that story any way you like. Ha-ha. Pun intended. So this is a very interesting topic. We leapfrog from one to the next, all because that darn 369 mystery has now been solved, and now we know a practical usage to put it to, and a practical cosmology to explain, or a hypothetical cosmology to explain, in view of that 369 so-called theory. Not bad, huh? Get a lot of mileage out of that.